we are today with Paolo Gesess, partner of United Ventures, right? United Ventures is an Italian venture capital fund, one of the most important, actually, and I think the oldest.
Well, actually, we started United Ventures in 2012, but I was already involved in the Italian ecosystem since 1997. So I'm personally definitely one of the oldest venture capital out here in this land of opportunities.
So what were you doing in 1997? And
So we started with a very small venture capital firm dedicated to was the internet bubble, internet era. And so we were there for, trying to see how there's all those new models based on the new technology. And since then, we've tried to be, looking for the new kind of potential business, that the new technology that after the internet era, there was the mobile era, then the cloud era, and then nowadays we have the AI. So we kept kind of moving our strategy in following the new opportunity that the technology has brought all over the world, but in particular in Italy, where we do believe talent and skills are there. While back at the beginning of the century and until probably 2012, when we start United Ventures, capital was lacking. So there was a sort of a mismatch between the opportunity and the capital to have the opportunity to become. So at United Venture, we have a clear view of, that we have local talent that we can help to become global companies. And that's our ambition. And that's actually what we have done in the last 12 years.
And how do you balance this mission, between strengthening Italy's, as you said, talent and innovation ecosystem with being a global brand?
I think the real goal is just to help those companies to have a mindset that start with a global ambition. Most of the time, Italy is a big market enough to think about a solution for the Italian market. And this is a good way to start, but is not a good way to go forward. So what we do, we try to help those companies to look a little bit, globally, and we connect those companies to other international co-investor with us, and also, open the market, which is the Western market at the end of the day, for the kind of company we will invest in.
And do you think that there is an opportunity here in Europe in general? Because we keep talking about Italy and globally, and then when you go to the US, you talk about the US.
Yeah.
And here we should be talking about Europe if we want to compete with the US.
I think this is definitely a very good point. We really need to work all together to become, a real common market. So if we look at the single country, there is an opportunity everywhere, but then those companies struggle just to move to the next level if there is no, European regulation in terms of, and also a sort of best practice that every venture capital firm recognize in what the other have done in different countries. And I think this is going to be the important things to work on in the next, let's say, decade, which is, I think I'm gonna be there, even if I'm here since 25 years already.
Of course, you're going to be around. And what do you think in this ideal world that we're just talking about would be Italy, in this European as a whole ecosystem?
Well, I think that you can look at Italy in both directions. First of all, it could be a very big market for the European startups. Mm-hmm. So it's not just for the Italian startup, for the European startup. The Italian, let's say, market is a huge country with one of the biggest in Europe. So you can look at it this way. On the other way, we can say that in Italy we have talent, we have very good university, we have skill, we have a mindset of an entrepreneurial mindset, which is gonna bring those companies to scale and to become European. So my ambition is to see, as exactly like we want to position the United Ventures, we are based here, but we are an European company. We are a European VC firm. And that would be also the goal for the company we do invest, to become a European company, maybe based in Bologna or in Torino or in Rome or some other Italian city, but with the mindset of a European player.
You mentioned that in 1997, the problem was capital.
Yeah.
And today, is capital no longer a problem?
Well, As usual, we are trying to bridge the gap, but we are still a little bit behind, compared to other countries. But definitely, I see very positive in the next few years. There are three main lines, that make me think about it. One is the, sort of public moral suasion to, lock some pension fund money that can on one side enlarge the Italian ecosystem. The other one is, as I was saying, we stopped investing a little bit more in the year 10, 12, and now there are success stories. And success story brings interest also to private investor, either towards individuals. So there is also this sort of second kind of line of putting and seeing more capital arriving in the ecosystem. And in the third, let's say, line is anyway, asset allocation is from institutional and private investor is expanding into private capital. And in the private capital, the venture capital, start becoming serious. So those three lines make me think that in the next few years, there's going to be much more capital to invest. And so I see, in a very positive way, the future. And yes, but we now at the moment we're a little bit behind other countries like France or.
I mean, we're not going as fast as we should. I mean, at least as we should expect to evolve, right? But not Italy, Europe in general. And when it comes to Italy itself, you mentioned that, I mean, there's a lot of talent, great universities, And what are the main challenges of the startups, this Italian talent, when they are thinking about expanding abroad, no? And we can say abroad within Europe and then abroad as going to the US or any other market, no?
I touched that briefly before. I mean, I think the challenge is to start the company already with with the European or global kind of mindset. Instead, that start a company and just check in first on the Italian market, which is big, but not big enough to really create something different. We have a very good example of company out of Italy that has, let's say, since day zero, their product with the intention to sell the product globally. And so it really doesn't really mean if it's for the Italian market or the French market, the European or whatever. This is worked in consumer business like the music business, in the e-gaming space, but also in deep tech company like cybersecurity and anti-fraud, for example. So we see that those are the companies that from day zero, they wanted to build something for the global, market and not just for the Italian. Mm-hmm. So I think that the real challenge is for all the new startups is just to start with that ambition instead of just proving, the idea on the local market.
And what are the sectors the sectors that you pitch the most when you pitch to LPs?
Well, we try to. And this comes from my long story. We try to be not so vertical, focused because verticals change during times and very fast. So we try to look at before it's too obvious. So that is our one of our motto. So try to be there a little bit earlier instead of just following the trends. So for example, we did invest in artificial intelligence back in 2017. Just to try to understand that we saw an Italian guy that was working on this. As of today, we are working on quantum computing projects, which is something that will arrive.
It's not obvious today.
Yeah, it's not obvious today. But I was also, I can do example about agri-tech. So we did investment in agri-tech back in 2019. So we try to be a little bit more looking what was going to be. And then the other pillar of our investment is people first. So we want to back people that have, those potential innovation ideas. We want to back them. So we are not pitching special technological expertise. We are pitching, people first before it's too obvious, and then local talent for global company. Those are the three pillars of United Ventures. We believe in Italy in particular, it's pretty clear that is a very good opportunity.
And I know. If we go outside of Italy, because I know we're talking about the Italian legacy, but then when we go outside, like what would you say are the markets that you find the most attractive markets within Europe or elsewhere, no, depending on your strategy and when you are going to look for potential investments?
Until a few years ago, we believe that, since our, let's say, DNA, probably the, Southern European market was the one that we were able to, to navigate, in a good way because of sort of a real, understanding of the sociality and everything. And also that, like talking about Europe, France and Germany, I mean, they were sort of crowded market in terms of capital and startups. So was not the obvious place to stay. While and I'm coming to recent in the period, the Eastern Europe, is sort of a place to go, a place to be, and a place that we can, where having, work as an emerging country, as used to be Italy, maybe still a little bit an emerging country, we think that we can do something there, and there's going to be good opportunity in a lot of Eastern Europe countries.
I mean, there are great opportunities in Eastern Europe. I mean, we have our European, our Emerging Europe conference there, and we see really, really attractive opportunities there. So, and I think that what would, just to end this, what do you think it's the thing that differentiates United Ventures, from any other European venture capital fund?
Well, I don't know any other European investment. I know what is our strength here. So we have built a culture in the company. So we have a team that has grown with us in the last 14 years, and a culture of being people first, a culture of being looking for something new before it's too obvious. So we have been crossing the technology. We know about technology. We are looking at the new technology. We're looking at the people culture. We put those two things together, and that's the United Ventures, let's say, DNA, which I think is recognized by the market. And the thing that I like the most when I hear founders talking about us and saying that we are good.
You're a good investor, right?
Yes.
And that's not easy to find. And when you think about, I mean, this, and with this, I am over, I promise, because you've been here since like 30 years already, almost, yeah. So, and as any other industry, this goes through different cycles, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, what do you think? Where are we right now?
We like European venture capital ecosystem, we are still in a phase where we need to do a next step. So usually, the cycle, founding period, and then sort of scaling a little bit, then consolidating, and then probably the organization needs to be revolutionary. So but we are not there. We are not there in a sense that probably in the next few years there's going to be a lot of technology getting into the tools that we're going to use much more than in the past. Artificial intelligence is going to change a lot of way to interact and to do analysis and to evaluate it. So I think right now we are in this kind of phase, and probably in 4 or 5 years from now we're going to be in a sort of a revolutionary ecosystem. Is going to be much different from what we have now, thanks or not thanks to the technology.
Wonderful.